Hi, I'm Patty Hines. I'm Director of Banking and Payment Strategy at Slent. Welcome to our session, AI and Emerging Tech in Global Trade. So before we jump into the session, we'd like to hear from you. So if you could get out your phones and open up your Slido polls, we have a poll for you. So if you had a magic wand, you could solve anything. What do you think would solve those problems? Removing trade document errors, enabling real-time end-to-end tracking and visibility, automating instant error-free compliance checks, providing a universal digital identity for trade participants. So while you're telling us your thoughts, I'm going to introduce our esteemed panelists. So I'm joined today by executives across the ecosystem, financial services, and technology. So to my left, Hazem, founder and CEO, Eastnets. Do we have any results yet? If we don't, we can wait a few minutes and we can get going. Yeah.
Well.
Ooh. So, automated instant error-free compliance checks. And, really interesting, we ran this poll on LinkedIn last week, and we sent it out to all of our followers at Sibos. And what do you think they said? There it is. They also said instant error-free compliance checks. So anyone here that wants a project for next year, let's solve that one.
Indeed.
All right, let's get into the conversation. I think that's really interesting. Okay, so we're talking about delivering measurable outcomes, right? You're not going to invest in technology, you're not going to invest in new solutions unless they really can deliver those results. So if you've got emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, IoT, digital identity, now, are they delivering gains today, or are we not yet there yet? Hazem, what are you seeing in your work with clients?
Yeah, if you allow me, I'd like to set the scene, and I want to compliment, my colleagues here. As a matter of fact, the emerging technologies are transforming global trade. And they're transforming it in a way that it's enhancing, detecting illicit funds. So this is the first thing. And then how, these emerging technologies are helping us to improve our operational efficiency. And the third thing, of course, to help us to have a safer and faster transfer. So this is the basis of setting the scene. But if we're going to talk about friction points, there are obvious friction points that the colleagues here talked about. Has it been the documents? Has it been the custom clearance? Has it been in other areas like visibility? If we're going to talk about documents, naturally, there is a huge saving. For example, there is a case between HSBC and Standard Chartered where they reduced, the operational part 80%. If we're going to talk about traceability and custom clearance, as Sian mentioned, we are talking about the EBL that they've been doing and the corridors that they had with China and with India. They managed to reduce the time from weeks to less than 1 day. So this is a huge measurement and it's a huge impact. But if we're going to look, and of course, when we talk about visibility, he mentioned the traceability and the containers and the vessel tracking, etc. But if we're going to talk about, the elephant in the room, we are talking about trade-based money laundering. And this is the area that is not touched. So setting the scene, there is, as we all know, and since we are in SWIFT, SWIFT is transferring annually $2 quadrillion. And with these $2 quadrillion that they're transferring annually around the world, we are talking about $2 trillion that is related to illicit money. So, and out of this $2 quadrillion, there is $32 trillion that is related to trade, out of which it's commodities and services. Now, these $32 trillion, we are talking about $400 billion of illicit money again. And, according to FATF, they say 9 out of 10 money laundered is out of the trade. So looking at the elephant in the room, we are having a big problem, and this is a friction area that is not untouched. And this is with the pilots that we are doing, with our customers. We are looking at all the emerging technologies, and we believe that all emerging technologies, they can work together in a way that can help us, detect and uncover all these things. And this is where, in the pilots that we are doing with our customers, with the softwares that we are delivering, has it been the onboarding level, or has it been, this is the onboarding, of course, to have a faster onboarding, a better trust, and less fraud. And then, when we are talking about OCRing or digitization, this is where we are using AI to uncover, with the Gen AI, to uncover overpricing, underpricing. So this is something that is very important to uncover trade-based money laundering. And then we are using the IoT, to help us, in vessel tracking. So like this, we are looking at the whole value chain back to back, so we can give trust and reduce fraud and, help the trade to have a better digital trade. So this is what we are seeing with the pilots that we are delivering, with our customers in the banking sector. So if I want to say something, it is a déjà vu for the banks, and it's an important point that they take this measurement into account so they can work in a better trade finance.
So let's stick with the risk theme a little bit and looking at it more broadly. So how can trade banks embrace AI, tokenization, digital identity without creating new risks? And I think we're going to go to Hazem on this one. So risk and compliance is at the heart of what you're doing at Eastnets. How do you strike the right balance?
Yeah, first of all, if we're going to look at the emerging technologies or the innovations in technologies nowadays, and we're going to zoom it in into the safe or the trade finance, we are talking, that these technologies, they are addressing the trade finance. It's in scalability or in scale and complexity. But while, at the same time, balancing the risk with operational efficiency, with data privacy. So these are the risks that we have to balance between, uncovering, illicit money, and at the same time, the operational efficiency and regulatory requirements. So these are the two things that we have to look at from one point to the other. Now, if we're going to look at, and I'll talk first about the pros, then about the cons. If we're going to talk about the AI in the trade finance, how AI nowadays is being used, in uncovering illicit money, and especially, when we are talking about overpricing, underpricing, and even phantom shipments, all of these. So this is where Gen AI can be used in this case, to uncover trade-based money laundering. So on the second phase, when we're talking about tokenization, provided that regulatory requirements are there, then tokenization can be good, because then we're going to have an immediate settlement and faster payments. So this is on the second one. And then when we're going to be talking about digital identities, for example, this is where it becomes a challenge, provided that everything is regulated, because it is good, in a matter that, to have better trust and to combat fraud. So these are from a pros point of view. If we're going to look at the cons from a risk point of view, AI naturally have challenges, with explainability, and of course, when we are talking about different regulations. So this is one. Tokenization, it is something nice to have, but it doesn't, work in every regulation. And sometimes we're going to have memes like the ones of Argentina or Madame Trump, they might fly on or fly off. So, this is something else. And then, of course, the digital identities. If it is not well regulated, we might have a ripple effect, and things will go bust. So these are the things that we have to look at, from pros and cons, about these technologies and how we look at the risk. If we are going to look at it, as a company, we have to address these points from what has been taking place globally. For example, in Singapore, with the safe trade that they have created special legal frameworks, to address the EBL. Meanwhile, for example, in Europe, all the European banks, they are mandated to meet, risks and operational resiliency by the DORA that they have. In Dubai, for example, and the UAE, there is also regulations for the digital identity. So, balancing these risks, there are also some frameworks and regulations that are rolling out globally so we can balance the risks in the, from these emerging technologies and innovations and, of course, scale it out globally. Now, we at Eastnets, we believe, in these things because, we are working with tools that are having data transparency. We are working with the regulators and we are working with operational efficiency because, ourselves also as a company, we have to be DORA compliant. We have to work with the regulators so we can apply all these regulatory requirements in our software and our offering to the customers and to have the data transparency so we can be working closer with our customers on this. So this is how we look at it from risk aviation and these kinds of technologies and balancing innovations with risks.
Yes, certainly from my vantage point, where we help both banks and solution providers, the fact that now almost every solution provider is regulated is a huge shift in the industry, right? It used to only be the banks. So I'm going to put Ruben on the spot for our last session here. We have 10 minutes left. Let's look ahead a little bit, right? What's going to happen in the future? All right, Hazem, can you tell us in 2.22 minutes what your future view is?
So 2 minutes have been if we're going to look at the trade in general by 2030, according to McKinsey, they are forecasting that global trade is going to be around $40 trillion. 60% out of this trade is going to be out of digital platforms. So having said that, then we are talking about a growth in the trade. And of course, it is not only the growth, the way that the trade is going to be out of digital platforms. But, looking at the trade ecosystem, where trust and speed are built in, every payment, shipment, and compliance, payments has to be digital, shipments have to be traceable, and compliance have to be instant. So how do we achieve this? By looking at these three things. We need to have universal digital identity, so to have trust and lack of fraud. We need to have payments that are tokenized, but tokenized in a way that is regulated. And maybe now, with the announcement of SWIFT that they said yesterday, they're going to have this DLTR, over the SWIFT network. Maybe this will help, to have a better settlement, faster and immediate payments. And then, of course, when we are talking about compliance, we need AI compliance that is instant, that will help us evade the risk in advance. By doing all of this, then we can create, a trade ecosystem that is trusted, and it's not only efficient, but also it's going to be, inclusive, so all parties then can participate without worries, of any trade-based money laundering or fraudulent activities or lack of standardization.
Good job. So I want to thank everyone here in the room for attending today. If you want to ask questions, I think most of us can stay for a few minutes, or you can find us on the Sibos app. And would love to continue the conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.